I call this the What is Counterplay Persian, and it might be the most powerful strategy I show in this video. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the slowest news season we've had for a new Pokemon game, so no one really cares about it right now, even though the games are releasing next month. However, we have information to work off of, and the Terastalizing mechanic is going to be the craziest thing competitive Pokemon has ever seen, so we can take the confirmed Pokemon and talk about strategy until the game comes out and not even break the surface of what is going to be possible. So instead of uploading nothing, because there's nothing going on in Pokemon, I can actually break this down for some crazy competitive stuff. And unfortunately, Raichu is the first Pokemon to talk about. So yeah, I'm just going to go over some moveset ideas, and I strongly encourage you guys to go to the list of confirmed Pokemon, scroll ahead, and drop some of your ideas, because some of this is tough, and again, Terastalizing is going to be so insane. I can't think of the combinations for... I can't think of all the combinations for a single Pokemon, let alone all the potential for every Pokemon that's going to be in the game. So this is going to take a large community effort, and even then, when the game comes out and competitive happens, we could just be completely wrong or still not get some of the super broken stuff. So I do want to have some fun with this, and it's going to be insane. But let's start off with Raichu. Now, the problem is, Generation 8 is a complete mess. We had Brilliant Diamond, Shine Pearl, we have Pokemon Sword and Shield, Legends Arceus. Okay, we just get to discount that garbage for the moveset stuff. But even then, there's so much going on here. TMs, TRs, different movesets, similar learn sets. We have cross-generational stuff. We still have all these egg moves to deal with, exclusive moves, tutor moves. Oh my goodness. Where that lands for how Pokemon's gonna look in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I don't even know. And then a Pokemon like Raichu gets extra ugly because of the interactions with exclusive events and stuff like that. And then Pokemon Sword and Shield making it even weirder because you don't need to breed a Pokemon to get an egg move onto it. So, event exclusive from previous generation with a current egg move is possible, but then there's no battle stamp. But if, 6v6 doesn't have a 20-minute timer, then free battles with your friends are going to be all the rage, and 6v6 is back. So there's a lot of stipulations going on before we even get into Terastalizing. And I want to make the note, I'm going to be primarily focusing on single battle strategies because it's a better format, a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable. Really, the only reason to play doubles is because of VGC, but there's no reason competing in VGC because it's more of a hack fest than ever, and that's only going to get worse in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet if you have to do all of these extra steps to get super rare Terastal combo Pokemon. It's not looking pretty. So we just had to where the 2022 world champion was caught cheating, and almost everyone at Worlds was also cheating, and this is following Players Cup 4 champion cheated, 3 champion cheated, Wolfie VGC, the most prolific cheater in all of Pokemon, Paul Ruiz, Sejun Park, Amati. There's no point worrying about doubles, and again, singles are just more fun anyways, so we can focus on those strategies. And this is where, the layers of Terastalizing, we aren't even going to begin to scratch the surface, because you get to have your Terastalizing, but then also an item. So it's not like, well, if you run double Mega or multiple Z-move strategies or something, you're really putting your team at risk. No, any Pokemon can just Terastalize and have all kinds of different strategies behind it. So you might have one or two primary, just giga sweeping strats or ultimate tank Terastalizing, but the rest of your team can still have a nice little trick behind it. Now, as for where Raichu lands on this, Raichu's a wacky Pokemon. It's got that nasty plot, 110 speed. 110 speed looking pretty good. Now, we don't know the full dex, and I don't think anyone's plugged in a preemptive Generation 9 dex or format thing to where then we can start looking up different Pokemon and sorting by where their speeds land and how all that fun stuff, or what optimal stats you're looking for. So we're still not there on all of the competitive resources and what's going to work best. But 110 speed, probably going to be pretty good. Now, even though we're going to be working with the middle of the Generation 1 Pokedex, which generally doesn't have too many, outrageous strategies, and as we, get deeper into this, there's Pokemon like Volcarona, so what is Venomoth going to do as a Quiver Dancer? We'll find out later in this video, so stick around. Helps with the retention, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So it's going to be a struggle for some of these Pokemon. Now, fortunately, traditional cheese is always in play. Endure Salac Berry to just kind of make your Pokemon untouchable. A lot of Pokemon that are running Scarf going to be under 110 speed. Now, sometimes you find that 110, sometimes you find higher. But overall, if you get the Endure Salac Berry on the Raichu, and then you're going to be popping off with some kind of like crazy terastalizing damage, you're going to be in a good spot. Nasty Plot. In theory, Nasty Plot, surviving a hit, Endure Salac Berry will make this Pokemon an outrageous sweeper until you get hit by priority, which there's going to be a ton of, because that's just how creep works in this game. A lot of power creep, a lot of speed creep, a lot of priority creep, which I think is a new thing that I haven't mentioned compared to like other games. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. Focus Sash, maybe another Pokemon wants it. Maybe you run it on the Raichu. Maybe to find some kind of like weird durability, you go for Calm Mind instead, and you just play around the damage on your Terastalizing. Ideas. Lightning Rod. Well, you become a water type Pokemon with an electric immunity. That sounds pretty good, but the problem is, you already get access to Surf. So, if you Terastalize, you want to do it to increase your coverage, or find like some kind of crazy damage angle, but it's not like, oh, if I become water Terastalizing, then you run water Terra Blast, and now you have Surf instead. I don't know. It seems like kind of a cute idea for the Lightning Rod, but if you're proccing Lightning Rod, then why do you need the Nasty Plot? So maybe there's some different angles to go. Calm Mind plus Lightning Rod is that +2, so doubling damage. But then what benefit does a water type Raichu with 110 speed give you over other sweepers? Not much. And if we go through the decks, is Starmie already confirmed? Okay, Starmie is not confirmed. So if like Starmie was confirmed, then yeah, Starmie is just infinitely better than the water type Raichu, probably. And even as we jump ahead a little bit, there's gonna be some interesting Pokemon. So you're just kind of playing for the stats more so than the moveset on the Raichu. However, it's worth considering that Lightning Rod might just turn out to be a ludicrous ability for the Generation 9 format. So if you can switch Raichu in to an opponent's Electric Terra Blast, because everyone wants to do Levitate plus the Electric type Terastalizing or an Air Balloon or something. If people get too cute and Electric becomes super strong, then Lightning Rod Pokemon are going to be really good, and then that means Raichu with the 110 speed is also going to be pretty good. And then you're thinking about like weird and different angles, because agility. Now, modest agility probably does some crazy speed tiers and doesn't need like the timid. So you're coming in with damage, you're coming in with a +1. So it's like Lightning Rod, eat the hit, agility. Now you don't need Salac Berry Endure, so that opens up other things you can run with the Raichu. And that's before we get into the actual infinite possibility of what's going to happen with team building. What super niche Terastalized Raichu do you bring for the 0.5% win rate increase, but it's better than having a 0% chance to win? So there could be like some kind of really niche counter setup, or maybe you just have Electric Terra Raichu and you maybe bust it out every once in a while, because the +1 into the discharge into whatever item and other move combo you're doing just nukes whatever is super popular, even though if people are going to be going into a lot of electric terastalizing or like some other things. Maybe grass becomes common to like eat spores and whatnot, or not get affected by a leech seed. So maybe you just go Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, you have Endure Salac Berry, that way you keep up with incredible speed creep and incredible stat boosting creep if that becomes the meta. Also, if you're running agility, then that opens you up to other moves. Maybe you never Terastalize the Raichu. Maybe you just go Electric Terastalize, you try to get as much damage on top of exclusive Lightning Rod switch-ins, because Pokemon like Rotom are going to be powerful. Maybe there's a lot of Electric, who even knows? What if you go Hidden Power Ground? Sure, you're not getting anything out of Lightning Rod, but that's it. You switch it in, you get your +1. Well, they're not throwing another electric move on your Raichu, and they might even be hesitant to do an electric type move on a switch prediction. So you just go ground at that point, and then you're blowing everything up. You also get crazy coverage. Type calculators and move calculators are going to be a thing once we like get the roster. And then there's also all kinds of ideas. Raichu comes in, you get the agility, Focus Sash procs, you pray that they don't have priority like you do with any kind of Focus Sash setup or anything super duper frail. So maybe you just run it down on a decent Pokemon that fills a good niche and doesn't need to hard commit to any Terastal while keeping a 2% extra win chance on your team. I don't know. Maybe they're just better sweepers and more safe Pokemon that aren't as much of a liability. We could get even weirder with this because, okay, maybe Water Terastal does work as a pocket because I see Pokemon like Ceruledge just being meta-defining, game-warping. It can't be just me. Like, any competitive Pokemon player has to look at this and get bad vibes where you have a Fire-type Leech Life, Drain Punch. It's a sustaining move. And the design of this Pokemon makes it look like it's going to have an incredibly high attack. It's also going to be faster than it needs to be. Flash Fire, Fire Ghost. Everything's just lining up for this Pokemon to be outrageous. And maybe even the other one as well. So you have to have a water tank or this Pokemon just going to mow you over because it's on 70% of teams. Or something stupid like that. And even if it doesn't have 130 base speed, it can just Choice Scarf into a Terastalized move and then too much damage. Too much support and utility. I don't know. So because of that, maybe you just run the water tech on a Pokemon that has a built-in immunity ability. Can be whatever. And good luck, have fun. Or maybe Raichu just isn't good. Or maybe it is good. Just throwing out the ideas as we come up with things to do throughout the month of October. Is October, I do a moveset guide a day. Probably. I don't know. We need something to do. Pass the time to get the game out. And then we get into Wigglytuff. So I want to give some kind of Tera idea for every Pokemon, and maybe some crazy dude comes up with one in the comment section, but I want to be more creative than, well, you predict the competitive switch in on like something that's going to drop your stats, and then you go normal into hyper voice and one-shot everything. You're still not outspeeding, and like, that just seems like the most base level. Terastalizing, is there some weird type combo into a bulky set? That's what I'm looking for. This idea is just to be the ultimate disruptor Pokemon, so I want to give it the most viability possible by just removing an opponent's Terastal Pokemon from the game. What if Ceruledge is crazy, and then Wigglytuff can just come in and say, nah, you hit it with the Thunder Wave, it makes contact on Bitter Blade, 30% chance Q-Charm, 25% chance it's paralyzed, another 30% chance it hits itself in confusion for +2 as a super frail Pokemon. Bright Powder's just chilling there. It can miss at any time. Double team into Wish. Now your Wigglytuff is immortal and just shutting everything down. I think it's possible. Depending on reduced dex, depending on the power level of the meta, this could just work. Next up, we have Venomoth. And this is where things get weird, because comparing it to Butterfree, it feels worse even though it has better sweeping stats, because Butterfree took over Pokemon Sword and Shield as the ultimate anti-tank Pokemon, especially with Dynamax, because, okay, they got some kind of setup Pokemon, they got something stally, they got something tanky, you sub. If you have that outspeed on 70 speed, you sub. If not, they can't do anything to you, so you Quiver Dance. Now you're just faster than everything. And you Quiver Dance again, so you're extra faster than everything. Or you hit them with the Sleep Powder. You've got the Compound Eyes, so Sleep Powder is not going to miss pretty much ever. And then you Baton Pass it into a Dynamax Pokemon, and the opponent's game is over. Or Butterfree just destroys you by itself. Now, Venomoth, interesting position for that. So if we look at the abilities, you don't have the Compound Eyes, so you're not going to have as effective of a Sleep Powder. It can just miss. However, you have higher speed, so you have more setup opportunities into more Pokemon, but also better sweeping potential on just your stats. So you go to Quiver Dances, now you're looking crazy, and that's how you play like the Focus Sash, you got Bug Buzz, Sludge Bomb, and then you can Terastalize to where again, we're going to need like type calculators and stuff, so we're just kind of posing ideas. We're setting the stage for potential, and then maybe some other people are going to be bringing some other stuff, but like, what Terastal type do you bring in for that Terra Blast? I don't know. World's your oyster. Maybe you do go Ghost. Actually, Ghost Sludge Bomb doesn't sound that great, but Sludge Bomb is just a good move to have, especially with like Fairy-type Pokemon, especially with things you won't be hitting super effective. Potential Mono Grass Terastalizing, so the synergy to that could just be Ground. that seems to complement pretty well. Also, we have Tinted Lens. Pokemon's attacks that are not very effective deal double damage. So if you Terastalize into anything, really, you're going to be able to have some kind of effectiveness on the opponent. Shield Dust, not affected by secondary effects. That's pretty good. Wonder Skin, status moves with accuracy checks are 50% accurate. That's also really good. So, like, Wonder Skin, just in case they're trying to, like, do some kind of anti-setup-y kind of thing, and you just go, whatever, I'm still Quiver Dancing. So this doesn't get shut down by the taunt half the time. And I guess you can still use it as that Butterfree anti-setup Pokemon. Your speed tier is really nice. It affords you a little bit of extra stats. Now, 70 full hit point invested into 60, 75 isn't great, but at least you survive something that isn't super effective. And if you get this setup off, it works. I don't know if you gamble on the sleep powder, but I've seen people do it on just like, if I have a 75% chance to win, I have a 25% chance to lose. Roll the dice. Good luck. This game is going to be wild. Or maybe tank Pokemon are just super common as a way to hold out against this overwhelming power that Terastal sweepers are going to be going for. Or maybe there's a nasty tank combo out there. What happens if Clefable becomes a steel type? Nothing good for the opponent because, oh man, they're going to throw like a poison move. They're going to throw a steel type move. Well, you become steel, you go for the cosmic power, and by the time they switch out and go into like an earthquake or something, you're just too tanky for it. So you're effectively making it to where by the time they respond to your Clefable, it has no super effective hits against it. And you can't poison it. However, Toxic got stripped out of a lot of movesets, so I don't know where the state of Toxic stalling is. I'm scared. Let's talk about Dugtrio. Okay, so let's ground ourselves, no pun intended, with a tried and true reliable Pokemon like the Dugtrio. I don't think Dugtrio's 100 attack really makes it worthy of like going ground Terastal with a Life Orb and then just trying to pick up whatever you can on like one-shot earthquakes. There's just a lot of better Pokemon for that. I already did a video breaking down some of the weirdness from Terastalizing, like what Porygon Z is going to do or what Volcarona is going to do. So Dugtrio just seems like it's going to be a good revenge Pokemon on the Arena Trap. Wait, everything's going to be Levitate Electric, maybe Flying, maybe other shenanigans. But I think all of the abilities are going to be viable depending on where the meta goes. If Tyranitar is super common, just bring in the Sand Force, because now you're just getting free crazy damage. Maybe Sandveil Cheese on top of Fissure on top of Focus Sash. You're just getting extra mileage out of everything. Maybe Cerule Edge is a 115 base speed Pokemon, so Dugtrio is like the ultimate revenge trapper. Or maybe it's just the ultimate revenge trapper when everything's trying to go nutso off of Terastalizing, and then you have that Focus Sash just as Giga reliability, for if they've set up a +1 speed, or if they're Scarfed, well, Earthquake Sucker Punch on that Focus Sash, going to deal with a lot of stuff, and then you're just sitting on a free Fissure or free big damage. And if the Focus Sash doesn't get procced because you're outspeeding and one-shotting things on super effective for coverage or other weirdness, then you just have freeness on the Dugtrio. So a non-Terastal, anti-Terastal Pokemon that just holds it down, also breaks tanky Pokemon potentially on that Fissure. A lot of things that could happen here. So tried and true, just going to be good. Everything seems viable on it. Let's go into some of the other stuff. So, Persian. Now we are very long into this video, and we're finally getting into some damage calculations. So maybe there's some cheese with Persian. Ignore Ghost-type Pokemon for now. You build the other 5 Pokemon to remove a Ghost-type from the opponent's team, and that's what you keep secret. They don't know that your gimmick is to normal Terastal a Persian on Technician, and then if they have no Ghost-type Pokemon, you just win the game. Or Rock, or Steel, or... yeah, Persian doesn't really have a way of breaking that down. We'll worry about that later. So, I'm thinking, now we can start having fun. Now we can start ruining the opponent's day. Nasty Plot, Swift Technician, Stab, Normal Terastal, good amount of speed. How much damage do we do? It's actually very underwhelming. So a Jolteon. Also ignore the 100 base speed. I was doing like other calculations for other Pokemon. So the Jolteon is going to outspeed us. Not good for our whole strategy. So somehow we need to get a Nasty Plot in there. So +2 on that special attack. I'm effectively using crit as like the double stat thing. It looks like the damage is going to be closer to 2.25 times, you know, 1.5x on top of 1.5x for double stab, instead of just doubling your damage. We don't know, but I'm just going to like play it on the beneficial end. So even if you do all that, like miracles happen, something crazy, you're going up against a 65, 95 Pokemon, and you're just barely getting by on the one shot. I feel like you need the Focus Sash to set it up. Maybe you go Silk Scarf and you just play like super gambly, but then you bring in like a real Pokemon, Garchomp, benefit of the doubt Swords Dance, therefore we're not worrying about Scarf. Do we one-shot the Garchomp? We do, actually. Okay. But again, this is like everything going perfect in the best case scenario. Somehow everything works on the Persian. Like maybe you come in against the tank Pokemon that's on its last legs, you revenge, you set up the nasty plot, they can't threaten you. Now anything slower than 115, you're just golden. Maybe just like the Raichu, we run Endure, Nasty Plot, Salac Berry, all these other things just to get the most out of Swift. And if you're not running the Silk Scarf, you're dropping a lot of that damage, and you're not finding one-shots on like super tanky Pokemon, special defense tanks, assault vesters. It does not seem worth it to me. So what I want to do is I want to try Fake Out only normal Terastal Persian. What do those numbers look like? I call this Persian, what is Counterplay? You go normal Terastal, and everything is about capitalizing as much damage as possible. Stab Fake Out into Technician, into Silk Scarf. We could run other items, and we are going to be covering that. And then, even though it seems really cool to want the Adamant Nature, that 115 speed, if that becomes crucial, it just makes it even better. You go Fake Out, they get flinched, you go U-turn if you're faster and they don't get KO'd, and then the opponent doesn't get to play the game. But we can also go into even more not playing the game, Feint +2 priority, and I don't care about like the nullifying the effects, it's just you go Fake Out Feint with all these things and the Terastal, how much damage does it do? A weird thing really quick, how does Persian not get Quick Attack as a Generation 1 normal Pokemon? Or just any kind of like update and touch over the years? That just seems weird to me. Same thing with like some of the other priority moves it can get access to. Like if this got the extreme speed, we would have even more shenanigans at play. Maybe you get rid of one of these and then you like the thing is the Feint combo just seems way too good for the potential that this Pokemon can bring, but also the U-turn is really nice, and then Foul Play for some extra coverage and hitting Ghost type Pokemon. So even though you might want like normal Terra Blast, because Return's gone after Pokemon Sword and Shield, or maybe it comes back, but without Return, and then all of these other interactions out, like Fake Out Return on this Persian probably just wrecks everything in the game under 115 speed, but we're not there. But maybe Terra Blast does. So Garchomp, one of the better cases against this moveset, and again, like the lack of fighting coverage to break Steel and Rock type Pokemon, not making it great, but there's still like a crazy idea here where you come in on the Persian, you just fake something out, and then you switch into a tank in a beneficial matchup. It's where like every Pokemon is just taking chunks for free, and there's nothing they can do about it. Let's go back to our friend Jolteon. So Jolteon at level 50 is going to be two-shot by this Fake Out. That's kind of the idea. You just hard switch things into tanks, and you just keep playing with the Terastal crazy damage Technician Persian, and maybe there's just nothing the opponent can do about it. Actually, there's nothing Jolteon can do. You don't have to switch because Feint makes you faster than it. So Fake Out Feint. Every non-ghost sweeper in the game is just dead, and they didn't get to act. Alakazam will be forced to run Inner Focus. That is what this Pokemon is going to do to the meta. And that's also where like things can get wild. So Life Orb, but again, if you're hitting a Pokemon like Garchomp, like you want to Fake Out Garchomp at least once. And depending on if you know if it's Scarf or not, actually it doesn't matter because you can still hit it with the Feint. So if a Garchomp is already at 50%, you can go and clean it up with the Persian. Problem is, taking Life Orb damage and Rough Skin damage, and if you're hitting and running a lot with like Fake Out U-turn, and you're taking Stealth Rocks damage, you don't want that chip. That chip is going to add up, especially if you're two-shotting every Pokemon, and you're losing a fifth of your health in return. You don't get to 6-0 with that math. But again, that could not matter. But like, That's why I mean, this could be the anti-Terastal sweeper Pokemon. If they're not going Ghost Terastal, and it's just like some kind of Porygon meme on you go Scarf, and then you're just drilling everything with a high special attack Terastal in the game, and it's a one-shot or two-shot on every tank, then yeah, this Persian says no to that Pokemon. Game Freak is going to leave a lot of weird oversights in the game because of Terastalizing, and this could be one of them. So we have a lot of shenanigans there. So like, yeah, Life Orb too much. The Silk Scarf plays into a lot of your moves. What does Choice Band look like? Because now we're just going to be hard switching, but that's a lot of damage for a Fake Out that the opponent cannot respond to. Now, if you're running Choice Band, you don't want the Feint, but let's say Terra Blast is a 90 base power move. Okay, you're obliterating everything still. That's under 115 speed, as we talked about. So you either have the option to Fake Out for over half of any Pokemon's health, and then switch into something like Regenerator or a Giga Tank, or just have like crazy defensive coverage to where the opponent is just never going to do more damage than you're doing with a Fake Out. And on Revenge or whatever, this Persian just kind of wins. Now, if you KO Pokemon with a Fake Out, you don't get to banded Fake Out again, so even on a KOing blow, you are switching out still. But there's a lot of funny stuff that could happen. Or again, if like you just remove all the opponent's Pokemon that outspeed 115, Terra Blast is one-shotting everything, and you still have like the Fake Out option to cover against Pokemon that would otherwise mow down your team. But the Choice Band isn't recommended. That's why the Silk Scarf was there. It just seems to make the most sense. Maybe there's another item idea that comes into play, because could be a new item, could be an existing item. Mirror Herb? I don't see this working on like Pokemon that are switching out, but like tank Pokemon, random tank splashes to just eat up a Calm Mind, or to find some speed they otherwise wouldn't have from like an Agility or even a Dragon Dance or something. Maybe a Swords Dance just kind of lands on the right Pokemon. Like, a lot of weird stuff can happen, so Mirror Herb or other new items could just come into play. Yeah, game is looking kind of crazy, but don't count the Persian out 100%. And then, like, yeah, Fake Out U-turn. The opponent just doesn't get to play the game. And this might be a main. This might be one of the first Pokemon I just run into the battle spot and say, good luck, you don't get to play the game today. Another weird thing, if Persian is in the game, Berserker and like Alolan form is also like Alolan Raichu. The reason why you run it over Raichu is just so you have the Psychic type Raichu. So Terastalizing, I think, makes Alolan Raichu interactions kind of weird. But I mostly want to talk about Berserker. And everyone wants to talk about Berserker because Berserker has Steely Spirit. So what happens if you're Steel type Pokemon, getting Steel type Stab on top of Steely Spirit, getting that extra stab, and then you Terastalize into a Steel Pokemon and you get the bonus Terastal damage? You destroy everything. Well, let's make sure we have those numbers right, and that's why we're going to be running damage calculation. But it's the fun idea that maybe it's like Pokemon Let's Go, and that there's a way of trading, and then you get every regional variant of the Pokemon in the game. Meowth already shown in the first trailer, so that's possible. Now, as for what you run, do you just go 4x 1.5 times? Stab, Choice Band, Terastal, and Steely Spirit? Or do you just want to be the bulkiest mofo ever, and that you go like full hit points, you have a high amount of natural defense, you go Assault Vest, now you're a 3-hit KO Pokemon, so Pokemon hits you, you go Gyro Ball, Iron Head, whatever, that's a one-shot. Pokemon hits you, you go Giant Ball, whatever, Iron Head, that's a one-shot. So you're at least picking up 2. Problem, is Terastalizing bad, even if you go 2 for 1? Do you need to get more mileage out of your Terastalization than just a 2 for 1? Depending on how the value of this comes through, who knows, but it still seems like a really fun Berserker. Let's check out the stats. What? Okay, so this is like worst case scenario, because I want to show the offensive and defensive side. Like, what happens if we are max hit point invested and we're going up against a stab fire type move super effective? Like, we want to survive that because we're getting outsped. It's kind of lame if our 50 base speed Pokemon just has a fire type move, eat it, and then get outsped and just get KO'd, and then we lose our Terastal. And that's something that can happen. So, multi-attack, very powerful on the stab for the RKS system. Kind of survive, kind of don't. So, certain weaker stab super effective hits we maybe survive. Non-stab super effective hits, we definitely survive. Some off things, so like, yeah, flamethrower from 95, no life orb will survive. Kind of gets sketchy on those survivals, but it does show us some interesting things as well. We don't one-shot on Gyro Ball into 95 speed? What? We have Steely Spirit. We have Stab. We have Brave Nature, so an attack-boosting nature with max attack. And that's kind of like where it shows on the Assault Vest. Like, okay, we're here to survive. And then we're also activating, like, Terastal on it. But we're not shredding every single thing in the game. So we just get bulked out. Scarf Chomp Earthquake wrecks us before the Gyro Ball even lands. Now, this is with the Assault Vest, so I don't know, like, what you do to cover for this in some kind of other way. Do you go full defense? So what happens if we have that in defense instead of hit points? Nope, doesn't matter because of how the diminishing returns work on EVs. And then it just seems like a weird thing to have the ground berry if you're going to be going for all these memes. And if you're running that, then the Terastal is effectively the same thing as a choice band. It looks like Berserker is not going to be the god meme we thought it was. We'll have to take a look at Delmise later, but it seems like it's kind of going to go in the same direction. It seems like you want to take Pokemon with higher base stats that are faster, and then Terastalize on top of that, or just give them a +1 setup, and then win the game off of that. So, Berserker not looking too great. And then we have Golduck. So, Golduck going to be the last Pokemon we're talking about in this video. If we cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh god, I want to do more than 6. But Arcanine's kind of like its own clickbait because we finally get a water type Alolan Arcanine. 203 confirmed. We might be here for a couple of videos, but at least we have a month and a half until the games come out. So we're going to watch how that unfolds. So Golduck idea. Swift Swim. The angle here is we have what Pokemon like have Swift Swim shenanigans, and what happens if you Terastalize a Swift Swim Pokemon off of Water type, and which Pokemon are good for that. Golduck has like nothing stats. Nothing breaks 100. It's super frail. It doesn't hit hard. I don't see what viability this Pokemon has. Depends on like metas and stuff. We don't have Dynamax bringing rain everywhere, so do you go sack rain Pokemon? Do you have Golduck just bring its own? So you go Rain Dance, Focus Sash, whatever, and then you have Swift Swim activating. Rain is buffing your Surf. Water Terastal is buffing that further. There's probably a better Swift Swim Pokemon, but it's just an idea to pitch for now. Or maybe you just really, really like Golduck. Maybe this has something to do in doubles. Maybe you go Electric Terastal. Surf gets natural stab off of Rain, but loses your direct typing stab. Terra Blast Electric gives you Bolt Beam on top of Rain boosted Surf with the Swift Swim. Maybe that's workable. Now, I was thinking Thunder. The hell? Also, that would mean that if you go Electric, you wouldn't need Terra Blast, and then Rain Dance Electric Thundering Pokemon or double like stab into Terra could be pretty powerful. A lot of weird stuff to break down. But yeah, how does that look into Garchomp? Oh, we just tank a Garchomp. We don't need to have Focus Sash to have the Rain Dance set up. So yeah, Choice Scarf Garchomp hits us with the Outrage. We don't die. That's before we get our free 84 EVs into hit points, so we extra don't die. And that's because of how like these interactions happen. Also, maybe we wouldn't splash that into special defense. We splash that into defense, makes life just a little better. We can go Modest Nature. We can go 172 speed EVs, and then that outspeeds 102 Scarf, which is going to be more of the higher end threat. And then that kind of opens us off of the Focus Sash. I don't know what you run. And maybe Golduck is in the Goldilocks zone to where everything that breathes on it puts it into Patea Berry range. And then we go +1. And our other, like, +1 Surf under Rain, non-Terra is fine. Ice Beam. So this effectively just kind of makes it to where 4x weak to ice Pokemon don't get to play the game. And other 4x weak Pokemon to other things don't get to play the game. And you're just outspeeding it, and you have some decent things. Or maybe just to keep the Focus Sash, just in case. That way Golduck will get the setup and will be okay. Trying to think about some other things. I guess, not that. Trying to think about some other things. I guess with this kind of coverage, Expert Belt, because Focus Sash is no damage, but if you're not getting one shot, then that doesn't matter. However, if the opponent's coming in with like Terra boosted Electric move or Terra boosted Grass move, or if it's just a Porygon hitting you for double normal, maybe you want that Focus Sash just so you can respond to any weirdness that's going to be happening. If that's not too much of a threat, then yeah, Expert Belt's going to make it to where all of these other things are going to be turning into one-shots on pretty much everything. I don't know if you need the edged damage on Wise Glasses, or if, again, there's like something else that just kind of works in here and ends up making sense. A lot of shenanigans. There is the thing about the Damp Rock that we get more out of the Rain Dance, but I feel like if you have another Pokemon setting Rain Dance for your Swift Swimmer, they want the Damp Rock. If the Pokemon is setting Swift Swim itself, well, you're not worrying about the turn that you're switching, so you're still getting like enough to where if Golduck is outliving the Rain Dance, it's probably done more than enough, and it's also probably taken out very crucial sweepers from your opponent's team. Maybe this is where you run the Mirror Herb. So you just go lead, Mirror Herb Golduck. The opponent is most likely going for some kind of setup. You steal it, you Rain Dance, and then you win. Then you're unbeatable. There's nothing they can do about it. Well, nothing except for faint, fake out, Silk Scarf, Terastal, Persian. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.